I would say this, like, obviously you have to start with a dream and a passion for music. And if it's pulling you in, that's a great place to start, knowing that it's pulling you in. If you're going to bed and you're thinking about music, if you're waking up in the morning and you're thinking about music, then you should probably pursue this in some facet. Um, One quote that always resonates with me though is how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And what I mean by that is if you're going to half-ass music in this area, what else are you half-assing? So it's really you want to build the character no matter what it is. You want to build the character and the work habits to get things done. You can have a lot of dreams, you can have a lot of ideas, but if you're not putting in the time to be the best guitarist, then it's probably not going to happen in a lot of cases because your the passion and the drive and that character it isn't at that level. So uh, also just know that these things don't happen overnight. So control what you can control, no matter what that is. If you want to be a really great songwriter, hang out with other songwriters, write as much as you can. You want to be a great drummer, do everything you can to learn that extra 5 or 10% to be that much better. Learn how to sing so that you can sing harmonies, so you have more tools in your toolbox, so that you can do this as a career, right? So I think let that passion drive you and lead you into the direction of that music, but also just remind yourself that it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of good habits to get you over that hump. So if you have that passion and that good work ethic together, then good things will happen.
When I was 13, my last semester, before going to high school, I did a co-op in a recording studio, and the studio manager there gave me the best advice ever. He said, "Joel, you're serious about being a musician, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, well, how much time do you spend playing guitar a day?" And I'm proud. An hour or two a day, and I'm thinking that's pretty good. He goes, "Okay, let me get this straight. In any other career, any other field, they're working at least 8 hours a day. So you think that because you're a musician, you're special, you think that just 1 or 2 hours a day in your profession is enough? No, you need to put in at least the 8 hours that everyone's doing as a mechanic, as a engineer, as whatever."
Yeah.
And that's where my work ethic comes from. Since 13 was from that one guy. And since then, it was okay, well, I need 8 hours a day doing music. So if it's 2 hours practicing guitar, 1 hour learning a new cover, 1 hour booking shows, 1 hour updating the website, it was an hour as a musician, as a professional. It was 8 hours doing that. So that was probably the best advice I've received for getting
Yeah.
started. Yeah.
Well, and working with I've said this to a lot of my students too that I'm working with. Some of them are these aspiring artists and they're very talented and they have great music, and I'll help them along as far as things that they need to do to get going and get that ball moving. But I remind them, they may come back to the session like a week later and not much has been done. I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? It's like, well, okay, like you just have to work. Anything that you can do it. And you have to have that want to get out there. I'll give another piece of advice too, depending on the person's personality, right? Sometimes the only way to get yourself through to get that goal in, and I found that helped me too, is setting deadlines and goals that you can't turn your back on, right? So, for example, I had one student who she's been wanting to get a repertoire of music so she can actually get out there and start doing the cover circuit and obviously playing her own music, right? But she has to learn all these songs. She wasn't disciplining herself to actually learn all this music that she needs to learn to actually get these gigs, right? So she got an opportunity and she booked a gig without knowing these songs yet. She booked a gig and she had about less, I think maybe a week or week and a half to learn like 15, 16 songs. Well, guess what? She learned. Why? Because she burned the boats. It's a necessity now. If I don't learn these musics, I'm gonna be embarrassed. I'm going like I and sometimes it's the fear of what would happen if you don't follow through that makes you follow through to get things done compared to just kind of going through the motions. So because she set that deadline and she even spoke it out and made some posts saying, I'm going to be here. Well, if we're all going to be there, last thing she wants to do is embarrass herself. So she worked her ass off, and all of a sudden she's working 8, 9, 10 hours, like you were saying, to make sure that she got all this music done. And she did, right? So if anybody's is in that kind of funk, I would suggest that to them as well too, is like, put yourself out there, burn the boats, and I promise you, just from not wanting to be embarrassed, you're gonna try to get through that finish line.
I heard an Elon Musk quote. We talked about Kanye, who's not popular, and Elon, who's not popular. These are the two least popular guys right now, for doing some controversial things. But anyways, I heard an Elon quote it was something like, take your 10-year goals and try to do them in 10 months. It was some like
Yeah,
ridiculous time span, and it seems impossible. But if you start to say, okay, these 10-year goals, what would I have to do? Even though it's pretty much impossible, what would I have to do it in 10 months? And suddenly you
yeah,
just start thinking differently. And maybe you end up achieving those goals in 2 years and not in the 10 months, but you're
yeah.
still 8 years ahead of the other game plan. So I thought that was helpful as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think of that problem, if you want to call it a problem, or that challenge in a different light, that framework, as far as how you're approaching it. A little bit of working smarter, not harder, as well, right?